All right, welcome back to another episode of 77 WABC Sports Live. I'm your host, Mike Didino. I got James Flippin to my right. No Sid today. I said last week that we cut you out. We had to cut some fat off the edges. No big problem there.
Yeah, but I would just like to say that
Sid got a good laugh out of that, too.
He did. He laughed a little hard. And I would just like to add that I'm upping the IQ level for this particular program.
We'll start with the Rangers. I'm the Rangers guy, so you're going to deflect the questions to me.
Yeah.
Game 4 tonight, Rangers up 2-1. I'll try to keep it quick. But.
Okay. So, obviously, we know that Game 3 often is like sort of a linchpin game. They pick that up. They take back home ice. Here's a question for you. I feel like I know pretty well how in football and basketball, home field matters, right? Like, it's significant. It's really not in baseball. Like, I guess you'd rather have last licks or whatever, but the crowd's not so much a factor most of the time in, like, baseball. How much of an impact is home ice?
MSG has a good one.
Okay.
Not as much as the Knicks, I would say.
Right.
So not as much as basketball, not as much as football. But MSG is a good home. I was saying if the Rangers went down 2-0, everybody said it was over. I said, does Florida have some, like, elite home
No, because most
ice advantage. No,
there was a lot of
because there was a lot of New Yorkers there, and there was a lot of Ranger fans out there. So I don't think for Florida it does. For the Rangers, it helps. Like Game 7 at home, if the Rangers are home, they'll probably be slight favorites. Game 7 on the road in Florida, they'd be underdogs. Like, I mean, that's just.
What about one moment I happened to notice in Game 3 was when the Panthers scored both goals to tie it in the third period. Lavalette called the timeout and kind of like. Whatever it was that he did, it changed everything. Like all of a sudden, it was like the rink tilted the other way.
I don't agree with that, really.
Really?
I mean, the Rangers got schooled in overtime. They got schooled before they. I guess after they tied it up, it then started to even out a little bit. Now,
because it looked like Florida was going to basically take the lead there in the third period. The puck was constantly in the other end.
Too. The Rangers had no chances, and they got you could call it a lucky goal, but that's the beauty about hockey. You just got to throw yourself in front of the net, and you just got to put yourself in front of the net, and it can hit you and go in. That's why I love hockey. It ends really quick. It's not like baseball, football time, and baseball innings. You never know when it's going to end.
And a lot of people praising Shesterkin for basically keeping them in the game.
Yeah, he's been
so,
amazing.
What do they have to do to switch around?
Florida's bigger, stronger, maybe faster. Their first line, they're chalked that Barkov line. Whew.
So what do the Rangers do well that they have to counter that?
They got Igor. They got probably the best goalie in the league, which always keeps you in a game, and then you just make a few plays and you get a lucky bounce, and that's how they kind of won Game 3. If I was a betting man, I'd probably say if there was a game that they were going to get pillaged, it'd be tonight. Seems like it's must-win for Florida, because if Florida don't win tonight, it's probably a wrap.
Right.
You go back down 3-1, and Florida might be the better team. This is their season, so I expect them to come out firing today and play well.
Yeah, but it's just so fascinating to me that I've heard that so far, other than the Capitals, right?
Well, the Capitals were like the worst team in the
Okay, fine, so throw them out.
Playoffs. Yeah.
But other than that, basically everybody was like, oh, well, the Hurricanes, they're the favorite to win it.
Florida's better than the
They're just better. The Hurricanes are better.
And I don't watch hockey outside of the Rangers,
but I don't understand. The Rangers had the best record in the regular season.
Which is surprising. I mean, if you watch the games and you intently watch the games and you know hockey a little bit, I think you could tell Florida is a little better than the Rangers. Just a little better offensively. The Rangers have guys like Panarin that just have fall asleep during the playoffs because he's not as big and strong. The game in the playoffs changes a little bit like basketball. The game changes and it tightens up. The smaller guys, like the more skilled guys, have to really play big because it's more if you watch a hockey game like tonight, Florida will finish every forecheck with a hit.
Right.
You hit. And it wears guys like Panarin out. Fox, the Rangers' best defenseman, probably their best defenseman, is hurt. He's also a little small.
So why? I mean, I'll ask the obvious question then. Why aren't the Rangers a team that tends to prioritize those types of guys? Because the last time when they won the Eastern Conference Final, they got bullied by the Kings, who were bigger and faster.
That year, the Rangers did not have a superstar player. Their best player was Rick Nash. It was I'm not a Nash guy, but he was their best player.
He also tended to disappear in the playoffs.
Yeah. Oh my God, he was awesome.
He loved disappearing.
The Rangers, they're different with the Rangers that year is they had like maybe 3 or 4 like pretty good lines. They didn't have a really good first line, a really good second line. They had Lundqvist, so Lundqvist would always keep them in games, and they would really just never get enough scoring because they never had an elite line. This year they have like 2 elite lines, the first and second line, and the third and fourth line.
Yeah, but they actually get scoring from all their different lines, right? As opposed to like the Panthers, I don't think do.
This series they have.
Oh, okay.
Notoriously throughout the year, the third and fourth line have done nothing.
Gotcha.
And they actually have been good the last few games. The overtime goal was I believe that was.
So it's basically just hope that Shesterkin continues to play well.
It's just hockey, man. There's a lot of bounces. You just got to like stay in the game. If you have a good goalie, you should be in games late. And then hockey, the beautiful thing is like. Is so tight and it's hard to score a goal, especially if the goalies are playing well. A lot of the times it is a deflected puck. I mean, even so, like I don't know how much of you watched. Panarin's game winner was like all the winners tend to be for the most part deflected in front of the net.
Right. What about that? What about that shot though? That whoever that dude is on the Panthers, the one that actually tied it. I mean, that was a top. So how do you say it?
Bar down.
Bar down. Right at the top of the
bar down.
That was tight.
Yeah, it's been a good series.
That would have popped the water bottle if it was still there.
Yeah,
but it got moved.
Some guys still have it. I think. I don't know though.
All
right. Moving along to the Mets. Anything else with the Rangers? Now we'll just move on.
All
right, Mets. You're the big. This is where you come in here. The Mets. There's really they're a disgrace, right? Nothing good to say about them. They double dip against the Dodgers today. If they were to ever like their season, it's pretty much over. But now it has the chance to really just like. Become an avalanche if they get swept here by the Dodgers. Who do they play after that? Someone decent, maybe?
I don't even know. I checked out. I couldn't be more checked out.
Isn't that pathetic, though? We're checked out in May. After they just set the record for MLB spending the year before. That poses my question. Do you trust Steve Cohen to get this thing right?
I recorded a TikTok over the weekend where I basically said that it's not just about the owner at this point. It's not just about the money that's spent, the players that you bring in, all this kind of stuff. The biggest problem that the Mets have, and it's something that's been gnawing at me for the better part of my life, like ever since I was kind of aware of like the business of professional sports, is the role that the Mets play in the sports landscape is to be the loser. It's not even to be the lovable loser. That's the Cubs. Just to be the loser. The team that is not the Yankees, basically. And the players embody that. They come here, they say the right things in spring training, kind of a half-hearted, like, we're going to go get them this time. But they're not going to. They never do. And the baseball that they play is routinely just bad, boring. I was thinking about the hockey playoffs and the extent to which when you watch those games, even me, I don't care. You have a little bit of that, like, butterflies in your stomach watching because it's so, at any moment the puck could go this way and then it's over. Yeah. Those butterflies are kind of the way I feel about most of the time, like when the Mets are going to be playing on like a day when I have time to watch. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, oh, okay, great. The Mets game's on. Okay, cool. And then like you watch and like they'll walk a guy, steal second base, ground over the third, and then you throw the ball into left field and the run scores. Okay, great. Like that's how we started. Just a reference,
you're like sick in the head of Met. Like we're both big Met fans, but you're sick in the head type level.
Yeah.
You genuinely get depressed when the Mets lose.
Yeah, like the weird thing for me is that I think going into this year, like I didn't have any expectation that they were going to be great.
No, but we wanted them to be competitive.
But I thought they could be around 500.
It's embarrassing.
I thought they could be around 500.
How every year, like I said it when we recorded on Thursday, like 95 to 98% of my fanhood as a Mets fan has been awful, dude. Yeah. Awful.
I mean, like I said, when they were about 500.
So what is what's your trust level in Steve Cohen?
With Steve
1 to
Cohen,
10.
I'm going to give it like a 7.5.
Okay, so you trust him.
Yeah, I'm not giving up on it yet because the guy has spent the money.
Yeah.
And last year at the trade deadline, I know everybody just like forgets about it and kind of it's like part of the narrative this year. They have this big payroll. Yeah, but part of that is because they held back the money and they gave the money to Houston and Texas for
Verlander. Comes off the book next year.
Yeah, and I mean, the Wilpons would have never done that stuff, man. Like the Wilpons never ate money on deals like that. You know what I mean? They would hold on for dear life for Scherzer and Verlander to like bring the fans out for an August start that they had. Maybe we'll sell some tickets on this one and some T-shirts. You know what I mean? Like that's the way the Wilpons looked at it. Cohen at least has a big picture mindset where he's like, you know what?
It's not working
trying to do it the right way. It's not, but to turn a ship like that, To turn a major ocean liner, it takes a long time. So they're investing in the minor league system. The pitching has been coming a little bit more than the position players, but don't look now. I'm not saying it's any great shakes, but at least Acuna Jr., or he's not a junior, I don't think. Acuna is like hitting in AAA, stealing bases, whatever. I mean,
brother
look,
just tore his ACL.
Yeah, that's awful. This is the other knee.
The other knee. Feel
Terrible,
bad
man.
for him.
By the way, just give the Phillies the NL East. I mean, like, what a joke. I mean, like, it's not even going to be competitive.
I mean, I wouldn't count out the Braves, but they now lost Acuna and they lost Strider, he was the number one pitcher taken in fantasy baseball this year. So you can argue he's the best pitcher in the MLB.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure the Phillies have like a 10-game lead right now, right?
I mean, the Phillies have the best record in the MLB. They're cruising.
Yeah, right.
Zach Wheeler, another guy. It's pathetic.
Yeah, well,
right.
so
whoever
they play in the playoffs, let's go that team. Whoever they play in the playoffs, let's go that team.
Yes or no, is the Mets season over?
Well, yeah. I mean, in terms of the competitive aspect of it, you hope that Alvarez comes back healthy and you watch him play the rest of the season and hopefully put up some numbers. You watch with intrigue to see what's going to happen, if they're going to trade Alonso or not.
Yes or no, do they trade Pete Alonso right now? Just
I'm going to say no.
Okay, no.
Yes, because there was
yes or no?
No, they're not going to trade him. And the reason is, there's one option.
I'm dumping him, and I'm fine with Vladdy.
But it's more about...
We talked about this yesterday. Give me Vladdy, who's in 300, at least plays... We said yesterday, Vladdy's in 305, Pete's in 230, but Pete's going to hit 40 home runs, and Vlad legit might hit like 18. Would you trade the 22 to 20-plus home runs for 70 points in average? And at this point, yes, I do.
We talked about it,
and
I
just to
think...
get a fresh face in there, too, I would.
And I think baseball's changing. Like, you actually really have to value those guys who can hit around 300, because with the base running, with the stolen base rules that have changed, the fact that so many guys, strike out and fail to get the runner advanced and stuff like that. Pete Alonso, I get it. He's a classic Moneyball player, 3-outcome guy. Adam Dunn, Chris Davis, whatever, some upside to those guys. But I just don't think that there's a lot of good trade partners for a slugging first baseman. Like, you look at the teams that are going to kind of be like in playoff contention, and they actually already have production at first base. Well, the one I was going to say that's kind of interesting is the Houston Astros would come back to life. They would be
They're paying Jose Abreu, but they're one of those teams that isn't afraid to just...
Exactly, and they're also they're a classic. They're the kind of team that would take on Alonso. Now, somebody made the point, typically as a rental, maybe.
What about if they trade him for Bregman?
If the Mets worked out a deal where they were getting back Bregman, that'd be interesting, because Bregman's a free agent, right?
And then you reset it, you sign Bregman, you sign Vladdy.
That'd be interesting.
All right, moving along. Yanks are cruising. Must be a treat to be a Yankees fan, right? Must be nice.
Treat.
I mean, they haven't won one, but every year they're good.
It doesn't matter. You can't win the championship every year, especially in baseball. It's a crapshoot. You know what I mean? You just want to get there.
This year, though.
You just want to be a team that wins at least 80-some games every year, and that's what the Yankees are. It must be nice.
My big thing is, like, if you watch Pete Alonso hit and you watch Juan Soto hit, I got Soto in fantasy, so I watch him all the time.
Yep.
Just watch the difference in their at-bats. You're like, this guy is so much better than this guy.
Yeah.
Judge, too, obviously different, but he's like the elite hitters. He's like, I'm not paying Pete.
When you
I don't see that.
One of the phrases that went viral over the last couple of years was when Aaron Boone talked about savages in the box.
Yeah.
The one thing that you do see from those Yankees guys, they control the box.
Well, because Soto is like the best.
They're in control of their at-bat.
Yeah.
They attack when the time is right.
Yeah, man, that's
they
how you
sit back
hit.
when the time is right. Right. It must be nice. It must be a treat to watch it.
It's just like, wow.
As opposed to Alonso,
Soto
who's
and
like,
Judge hit, it's like,
and Alonso gets up.
mind-blowing stuff.
Alonso, it'll be runners at first and second.
And just
down
swing
one
out
run.
of his boots.
Down one run.
Like Lindor.
Seventh inning.
And
Here's
Lindor's
Alonso.
worse than
I'm going to get a hit. I'm going to swing as hard as I can. Here he comes. It's a slider down and away.
Lindor's worse than Alonso, too.
Well, Alonso, I mean, Lindor, I just don't even know if he has the physical ability. I get that he's had results in the past, like the last couple of years, his numbers in the aggregate actually come out well, but it just doesn't look like, he just doesn't have an impressive swing. You know what I mean?
He swings
like,
out of his jockstrap, and he's not that type of guy.
Yeah.
He's a guy, like, when I watch him play for 1 year, for a few months into that contract, I thought he's a terrible contract.
It's really annoying because don't even get me started. Jimenez has been great.
He hasn't been great.
He's been great.
He's won a few Gold Gloves, and he's one of those guys that you like, hits for average but not power. I think he has 2 home runs, but he's hitting
God forbid the guy who plays shortstop hits 300 and plays great defense and has some speed. God forbid.
Well, he steals.
That sounds like an awful thing from a baseball perspective.
No, you're right, and he costs a lot less. Yeah, Hernandez. Well, he's playing second, Hernandez, but he's a Gold Glove second baseman, I believe. Back-to-back years, he's hitting like 270 this year. I believe he only has 3 home runs, but he's hitting second. He's driven in like almost 30 runs.
It's a real treat to be an Guardians fan.
Yeah,
absolute
whoa,
treat.
You can't say Indians anymore.
Okay, give me a break.
All right, I was going to ask about the Yankees
Native
6-man
Americans
rotation,
fan.
but it's kind of boring. Keeping it quick.
I think that if they have
Garrett Cole scheduled to come back in July. Their rotation's been great. There's not like a guy you could really even take out right now.
Right.
Do you go to a 6-man rotation, or do you take out one of the younger, the Schmitz, or I guess the Heels?
I think you could probably do the 6-man, but I don't know enough
Obviously,
about.
come late into the season, you probably can't.
Well, I don't know enough about like,
Gil,
for example,
whatever the fuck his name is.
If Cole or Cortez or like any of these guys that are kind of more established, if they really don't like pitching with the extra day's rest, then maybe that's an issue.
Good point. Because these guys like routine.
Especially, I know like a Garrett Cole is going to be like totally like, no, this is the way I do it, and they're not going to want to mess that up. But with rainouts and with the way the schedule kind of beefs up a little bit, I don't understand ever having a downside to really a 6-man rotation because somebody's going to get skipped, and then it should work itself out. Maybe you let somebody pitch in like on their bullpen day, 2 to 3 innings,
or man, you maybe use some kind of long leverage relief spot,
right?
Even if you pitch whoever it is for 2 innings in the beginning of the game.
I was thinking about that the other day because Ron Darling was joking about how the Mets are out of players to pinch run right now, and then he and Keith were talking about how back in the day, Ron, who was a pretty good athlete, was their like designated pitcher who would pinch run. And sometimes when I was a kid, you'd still see pitchers who would come out and pinch run. They never do that anymore. I think ever since Chen-Meng Wang like tore his hamstring on that play when he ran at the home plate.
You don't want your pitcher to get hurt base running, that's for sure. Especially if you invest money in it, not worth it anymore.
Yeah.
For that extra step. Maybe.
Right.
Yeah, I've never really understood pitch running, and like if it's a close game.
Well, because some of these guys are absolute cloggers.
It is, but then you take a guy like, let's just say the Mets have done it, like they're taking JD Martinez out to pinch run that, and then you.
But I don't think it matters as much now with the new like ghost runner.
But it has
new like
happened one or two
wiffle
times
ball
this
rules.
year when the Mets have taken Martinez or somebody out.
Yeah, but now they play these like backyard wiffle ball rules where you start with like a ghost runner at second.
Yeah.
I hate the ghost runner.
You hate the ghost runner.
I hate the ghost runner.
Will they get Will they get rid of the ghost runner? Yes or no?
No, people like the ghost runner.
Will they have a robo ump in the next 2 years? Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
So is that the transition into?
That's the transition to Angel Hernandez, who's retiring. I know everyone says he's like probably the worst umpire of all time. He probably is, right? What are you looking at? 10:13. Is that okay?
Yeah.
About 5 more minutes.
All right. One of the worst umpires of all time,
think
probably.
So? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I have a conspiracy. Just gonna pitch something.
Let's do it.
Is it possible that Angel Hernandez was being paid to throw games?
I'm going to say...
He was that bad, right? Everyone says he was that bad.
However, there's 2 potential things here. Either that is true, and it was so bad and so widespread that he basically had like the goods on Major League Baseball, and he was like, there's nothing you guys can do about it. I'm going to continue to stay here and do this for as long as I want to. The other possibility is that there is nothing to that because obviously as soon as it became clear this guy sucks at being an umpire, somebody had to say, let's go and check, investigate a little bit if there could be something shady going on here. But I don't think there was ever any like rhyme or reason to the bad calls that Angel Hernandez made. It's never like, I mean, again, he must be like one of the most genius illicit gamblers of all time if he was doing something, because it never seemed like he was favoring one, like he was favoring the pitcher or favoring the batter. It's just they were just awful, always bad calls.
He was being paid to do.
Maybe
you never know, man. You really never know.
In this Tim Donaghy world, you'll never know.
Don't ask questions about Ohtani though.
Oh no. Yeah, his best friend and locker mate just happened to bet with his interpreter
not a clue.
Millions of dollars, but Ohtani didn't know.
He had no clue.
Oh, my God.
Last but not least, Dove Kleiman is in quasi-hot water. He pretty much said that, what do you say, Mark Davis, the Raiders owner?
Right, Mark Davis,
I guess he was banging like a 29-year-old or something.
That he had knocked up a 26-year-old dancer.
Dove tweeted that Davis, who's 70, knocked up a 26-year-old.
Right.
Then the lady said, no, that's not true.
Mm-hmm.
Kleiman's in hot water.
Mm-hmm.
I got some tea on Kleiman. I'll get into that.
Do you want
to know about my tea first, or do you want to say like?
I'll just say,
you have some thoughts.
I'll just say my piece first. That I have no way of knowing, obviously, if there's any veracity, truth to any of this story. But I find Mark Davis to be generally pretty unsettling.
Look at him.
With his bowl haircut and like
He's
supposedly
gotta be one of the ugliest guys.
he
on the
drives like
planet.
a minivan and it's like a well-known thing.
Probably the ugliest man on the planet.
And
Top 5.
there's just something really bizarre there. Like he's always got like hot women with him in the booth or whatever.
He's got billions.
Yeah, I guess. But that's, again, everything about it's just a little unsettling to me.
And then what about the Dove, who's one of those guys on Twitter that just pretty much
He's
tweets.
known as an aggregator.
Well, Dove is pretty much just a guy that is on Twitter 24/7, retweeting, quote tweeting any single report that comes out from the NFL. Anything he sees, he just retweets, quotes it. Doesn't care if it's true or false.
Get it back out there. Yeah.
Get it out. Impressions, clicks, yada yada yada.
Right.
So according to this, Dove Kleinman is a a dude in his early 30s. This is according to the New York Post. Early 30s, lives in Israel.
Yeah.
Started the blog or whatever the hell he does in
Israeli
2009. Guy. But I got some tea on Dove.
Okay.
The Dove that tweeted yesterday is not the Dove that lives in his early 30s in Israel.
Okay.
Dove sold his page. I know because I was in the market for it. I would reach out to Dove. I'd just be like, hey, man, how'd you build your following? Is it worth it to try to build something along these lines? You know, you are making some sort of money.
How many followers does he have?
Like 265, but it's all about impressions because Twitter pays in impressions. So you get $8 for 1 million impressions. He's getting X amount of impressions per month, and he gets paid by Twitter, and all he does is sit at a computer and retweet crap.
So, like, how much would a page like that go for?
Well, I know how much it go for, so you guess a number. I'm not going to say the exact amount because I like the kid that bought the page.
How much? You said it makes how much?
For $8 for 1 million impressions.
$8 for 1 million impressions.
And he's tweeting 24/7 pretty much.
And maybe
I don't know if it's a group.
you'll
I think
have,
it's a group of kids.
if you're doing well, it's like one impression per day that'll get 1 million, right?
At least.
So, and that's $8?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I
What do you
can't.
think you're making for the year? That's how you have
I
to,
can't do
whatever the
math
case is.
like
So
that.
what do you think? Just guess what do you think he's selling it for, and I'll say over or under.
Maybe like 10 grand.
Yeah, over.
Significantly?
Just gonna say over. I said it pretty quick.
50.
Under.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's interesting. I mean, it's not the craziest thing in the world.
Yeah. So Dove Kleinman that tweeted yesterday is not the Dove Kleinman that Griff is following. It's a new Dove.
Okay.
He actually messaged me and said, "How do you know that Dove sold his page?" Seems like a good kid, honestly. Seems like he's a little older than me. But I guess probably maybe in between us.
Okay.
35, we'll call him.
So have you thought about doing that, like buying a page?
No, it's not worth it. Like he's literally just retweeting and quoting fake
It feels
news
like
24/7.
It almost feels like the kind of thing.
40 grand a year.
Like when you buy, I used to do business sales, and like if you buy a restaurant, for example, it's really hard to make that work because you got your note that you have to pay. And, you know, things change. Like a restaurant is very, like, endemic to that person who owned it and, like, how they make their recipes and stuff like that. So I don't know if that's the same proprietary thing with retweeting and the way that Dove wrote it or what stories he picked or something like that. But that feels like a sucker's bet to me.
It was. I would bet he's not happy about it. All right. That's all I really got.
All right.
I got a few other headlines, but we went too long. So we're going to wrap it up now. James.
Angel Hernandez, thank you for doing your part to giving us robo-umps because it's going to help the game. It's going to make the game. It's removing this weird arbitrary thing that's not supposed to be arbitrary. Like in a perfect world, you'd have a magic strike zone.
And it'll be better for the hitters.
I think
and
it will.
the pitchers at the end of the day. You know the strike zone. You should know the strike zone.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to help the.
No, it won't help the pitchers. But it'd be nice to know, I painted.
But they don't need help.
They don't need help now. You need hitting. Hitting has to go up a little bit. But it has been going up a little bit over. I will say the last 2 weeks hitting has been increasing, I think, because the weather's getting nicer. You have to understand when it's 40 degrees, rainy, cold, it's tough to hit an 100-mile fastball.
Yeah, not everybody plays in the Northeast.
Yeah, you don't have a clue. You see the thing, you just
There's
complain.
Plenty
You don't
of
have
teams
a
in
clue
Florida,
what you're
plenty of
talking
teams in
about.
Texas, plenty of teams in Arizona, California.
A few.
They're doing just fine with the weather, okay?
They're
doing just
other
fine.
than the Dodgers, who?
They're doing just fine.
Who?
The Miami Marlins, the Tampa Bay Rays, the Arlington
Miami's doing great, right?
Rangers. I'm talking about teams that are in warm weather climates.
Yeah, well, Miami plays in a dome, so I guess that is. Yeah, just from a Mets
Houston,
perspective.
Texas.
Houston's.
Arizona.
They're terrible. But yeah, okay.
San Francisco's very nice this time of year.
Yeah, you're right. I don't know if it's very nice. My buddy went to a Dodgers-Mets game in L.A., and he said it was freezing, so. It's like 50. Still hard to hit. 50's cold, man. 45's cold. The nights.
Nobody wants 50 in L.A. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Nobody wants 50
Nobody
in
wants
LA.
50 in L.A.
50 in New York's nice.
Yeah, it's
50 in
okay.
LA.
All right, James, shut up. That's going to wrap us up. James, thanks for sitting in for Sid. Probably the last time you'll do this. Rosenberg's back next week. I'm back next week.
Oh, the great Sid Rosenberg.
We'll see you next Tuesday, 77 WABC Sports Live. That kind of got off gear a little bit. Thank you.